All right, guys, so now the next thing that we're gonna see is defending ourselves against the front kick. Remember that the other day we were choosing going towards the side. Today we're gonna choose to go towards the back by basically gaining as much distance as possible. And we have two choices. The person can kick with the front leg, like this, or kick with the front kick with the back leg, and I'm gonna move the same way. So again, first is to get the right movement. So the movement is gonna be here. Keep in mind that I'm gonna keep my hands up, just in case I still want to have my elbow facing forward, better than anything else, right? Just in case. Same with the other one, I still wanna do this. Right after you do that, you get comfortable, that's when you're gonna move your hand right after. So let's actually go for the first case scenario. The front foot is the one kicking now. Again, same move, and I'm gonna hold and pull. Rather than actually grabbing, what you're actually aiming for is kind of like scooping from underneath and pulling. That's just the beginning. Later on, you really wanna kind of like pull with you. But in the beginning, your first goal should not actually even try to grab, because that's gonna be a little bit more complicated, and look at what happens with the thumb. You might get hurt. So the key is to actually try to slap from the inside. As you can see, it's kind of like trying to slap the inside of the leg, right? At the same time that you gain range, and then you can pull. Same with the other one, same idea, but now look at what happens is I'm using the same hand, and it's always the hand that is on the front. You're gonna aim for the outside of the leg, which means that it's as if you are trying to slap the leg from the outside as you pull right after. Now, why is this effective? Because basically the person is aiming for, let's say, for your belly, and in this case, you are allowing the person to continue, buying a little bit more time, just enough for you to just grab it and just kind of pull. Same from the other side. Again, the idea is this. You are allowing the other person to enter a little bit, and that's when you're starting to pull. Now, why is it important to do it like this? Because again, the person is not just going to remain there. Chances are that the person is going to move back after the kick, right? So what you have to do is catch the person right at the moment that is the extension, so you can pull, but don't resist too much, because if you resist too much, this also might happen. Pull back, then you're gonna be pulled. Okay, so it's not a matter of like delaying too much. You just pull a little bit and make sure that the other person comes to you. So let's actually try that first, and then we're gonna see if we feel comfortable. We're gonna add a little bit something in a little bit, okay? Good. All right, guys, so now we are seeing the same thing, the same movement. We have the two choices. The one, the front foot is the one kicking. The other one is the back leg that is the one kicking, but the answer is going to be pretty much the same. The one hand that is on the front is the one that's going to be pulling. Now, look at what happens now. I'm gonna add the second hand, so you're gonna do the same, and I'm gonna pull slightly. Now, why is it important to kind of practice that first? Because you really want to avoid this at the same time, just in case a person kicks up and then you get kicked on your hand, which is terrible for your hand because it might actually break your finger. So for that, you want to feel this first, the pulling, and then kind of add that right after. Again, this is important. You're not wearing gloves, so you have to make sure that you make that distinction. If you're wearing gloves, then you can be a little bit riskier, because it's not going to feel the same way. But if you're not wearing gloves, any kick on your hands is going to be terrible. So again, this is first and this right after. Make sure that you feel this first and then move it. There's also this thing about this movement. So I want you to see if you can see it properly. When I'm pulling, I'm not reaching from the outside like this, arching my elbow. What I want is to still be covered and then pull right after. That gives me not only extra time, but also coverage on this side, just in case everything else fails, right? And also just in case the person decides to change their mind and go for a roundhouse. In this case, if the front kick turns into a roundhouse, you still want to have this as a protection just in case. If I go like this and the person changes into a roundhouse, look at what happens. Boom, you will eat the roundhouse through your face, right? So make sure that again, that this goes straight just in case, and then it's easier for you to cover right after. Same from the other side. The person is kicking me with the back leg. I'm doing the exact same thing, but make sure that again, this is slightly delayed. Once you feel that the other person is already moving towards you, because this is efficient, you continue the pulling. Now, you might ask yourself, well, if I kind of pull with the first hand, what do I need the other hand for? So this is only a temporary movement, right? And the person might pull back quickly. But if I go like this and I manage to put the second one, not only I can pull harder and closer to me, but I also can take advantage of the pull back to kind of enter with more control, right? So I can take advantage, particularly with that leg pull, now to enter quickly. So it allows me to have certain control, right? And again, your hands are supposed to be up, particularly when you're coming back. So when you come back, check, for example, the hand if you want. That's a little bit safer. Or at the very least, here, just in case anything else fails, you can enter a little bit safer. But anyway, I just want you guys to practice that second hand and see how it works. And just let me know if you have any questions. Whoosh. All right, so now what we're gonna see is we're gonna try to do a couple of afterwards, after the pullings, let's actually go with this. So we can do two things, mainly pushing in one direction or go again, pulling. Whatever it is that you want to do is depending on what you want to do next. So the first one is obviously if I'm going here, I can follow up with a roundhouse or finish from the outside by taking into account that I'm gonna try to go for the back of the person. But if my intention is actually go forward and go towards the inside, I'm gonna open in this direction so I can punch much easier. Now, obviously, as I like to always say, risk versus reward. Obviously, this is less risky, but it takes a little bit longer. As you can see, I kick first, but look at what happens when I go here. I can go straight for a punch, but it's also riskier because the person is also within range of punching you with the hand, right? So you have to manage your expectations and kind of like see what's best for you in each moment. But right now, again, we're gonna have those two choices. One is opening towards the one side, kick, check, and punch the back of the head. That's at least risky. The second one is here, open, kick, and then you can enter ready, or you can already enter right away with a punch without the kick. The reason why I like to introduce that kick is because I minimize the risk of being punched with the other hand. So I think that that is actually useful. Now, what happens with the other kick? Pretty much the same thing. First thing, I pull, I can push in one direction, I can kick and enter. As you can see, it's still looking for the back of the person. Or I can open, kick, and enter with a punch. So I'm gonna repeat those two options again. One, the other leg, please. Here, one, push, kick, and I'm gonna enter. And then with the other one, it would be one, open, kick, and then punch right away. As you can see, I always try to introduce that little kick to kind of like make the other person to, make it a little bit harder on the other person to come back. So make sure that you introduce that little kick before you enter with a punch, okay? Yes, sir? Okay, ready, push.